710 ends. Some developers want to extend that stretch of the 710 and head it all the way up to the Pasadena area. But right now, staying the course, eastbound side of the 10 freeway here, heading towards and away from the 710 freeway, which would take this suspect back into the San Gabriel Valley.
So we are watching this pursuit here that started in the Baldwin Park area, went through the downtown area, up north to the 101, gets off the freeway, gets back on the freeway southbound 101, through the downtown area, gets onto surface streets, and is now back on the freeway with CHP in pursuit here, LAPD Night Sun overhead.
Yeah, and I know that it says 10 west there. Yeah, it is the 10 eastbound. Thanks. That's what I reported initially. And just looking at the freeways and knowing them from being up in Skyfox for all those years, I can see the configuration of the freeway, the metro link that runs right through the center there, and those express lanes and the bus lanes on this stretch of the San Bernardino freeway. It stretches to San Bernardino. In fact, this stretch of the 10 freeway, you could roll all the way from the Santa Monica Pier to Jacksonville, Florida. It's one of the longest freeways in the entire US of A.
That would be a long pursuit.
Yes.
Very long. And would that car make it with the gas prices?
No.
And, yeah, right, okay.
You'd have to make a couple of stops.
But we do know the vehicle is making their way actually towards Baldwin Park. So it'll be interesting to see if that driver stays in that area, stays on the freeway, or gets off on surface streets.
Next major freeway interchange will be the 605 coming out of El Monte and just to the east of the 605, continuing eastbound on the 10. If that's what this suspect does, they will be in Baldwin Park. So we will see. Will he or she make a transition, because we don't even know the gender of the suspect at this time, or if there's any other suspects inside that vehicle, or anybody who doesn't want to be in that vehicle. Those questions still have to be answered. But the bottom line, this suspect could make their way either north or south on the 605, exit a random surface street, or continue eastbound on the 10 freeway all the way into the IE.
If you're just joining us, Alex Michelson, Christine Devine, Rick Dickert here for the Fox 11 News at 10 o'clock. We are following breaking news, a high-speed chase. All we know is that this suspect may have been brandishing a weapon. That's when this pursuit began in the Baldwin Park area. Baldwin Park PD were a part of it. Now CHP taking the lead as we're on the freeway and potentially, Christine, headed back towards Baldwin Park.
Could be, because we've talked a lot about suspects who go to an area that is familiar to them. Sometimes they go back to their own home or to be around family and friends when they do surrender. It'll be interesting to see if this driver continues on the freeway, either the northbound 605 or stays in the 10 eastbound. Rick Dickert, as you see the driver in this lane here.
The express lanes. Those are the express lanes on the 10. And probably, well, he could have or she could have a transponder. You need that to travel on those express lanes, or you could be ticketed.
Do you think it matters to this driver?
Doesn't seem real focused on following the law at this point. Maybe there's another person. Who knows? Maybe there's a dummy.
And they could be, all these suspects who are pursued by law enforcement could be written up for all the violations. They can keep track of every stoplight, every red light, every speeding violation, in addition to evading police and reckless driving. All of those just chalk up with the majority of the pursuits that we see here in Southern California. Continuing eastbound on the 10 freeway through the express lanes.
Look at that
sunroof.
The sunroof's open.
It's open, or it could be broken and they have some plastic on it. I can't really tell.
Think about how much wind must be coming through that vehicle at this hour, too, at those high speeds. And it's not the warmest night of all time either.
Oh, no, it's open. It looks like somebody maybe gesturing out. Perhaps if we could...
Which begs the question, Rick, we don't know if there are more than one people inside that SUV.
That's right. And people always ask, why do they run? They run because as long as they can run and stay away from police, they're going to stay out of jail, because this suspect will go to jail if they do apprehend he or she at this time. We do know that this pursuit is continuing on the 10 freeway, and this is a good time to remind everybody, Alex and Christine, that if you ever encounter a situation like this, something like this comes up behind you, whatever you can do to slowly move to the right or left out of the way of the officers, and never ever try to be a hero, because you can get yourself into some big time trouble. You could get hurt or even killed. You don't know the mental state of the suspect. You don't know if the suspect is armed. Again, it did start in Baldwin Park as an individual who was seen brandishing a weapon, and it started in Baldwin Park. Baldwin Park PD picked it up. They followed this pursuit all the way into downtown LA, up the 101 freeway into Hollywood. Then the suspect made a U-turn and went southbound pretty much the same way. CHP tracking it then. LAPD got involved, and now it'll be interesting to see if Baldwin Park police get back on it.
Well, they wouldn't on the freeway, would they necessarily, Rick?
Not necessarily, although the initial want did occur in their community, so it would be interesting to see. They definitely can get on the freeway. They can, and they were likely pursuing this suspect. They had to have been pursuing this suspect on the freeways that I had just mentioned. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he continues on to the east, because the freeway is wide open. And again, it begs the question, how much gas did this vehicle have in it when this pursuit started? Because you're burning a lot of gas when you're ripping down the freeway like that. And these are not the best fuel-efficient vehicles, these heavier SUVs.
And this driver's been hitting speeds of up to 90 miles an hour as well, which is not the greatest for the gas mileage either.
That's exactly right. The Night Sun still helping out. Helicopter keeping track in the air. Units on the ground. CHP was on it last time, was the lead unit on the 10 freeway, the San Bernardino freeway. Again, a freeway that runs thousands of miles across our country on the south end of the United States, from the coast at the Santa Monica Pier, where it dumps off there at the McClure Tunnel, all the way to Jacksonville, Florida, along the beach there.
You really think we're going that far?
No.
You know, we talk about suspects knowing areas or being in areas that they feel comfortable and familiar. Even though this person started in Baldwin Park, they may not get off in the Baldwin Park area, but they might be more comfortable with the eastern part of LA County or the Inland Empire, because they went up to the Hollywood area and turned around.
That's right. And there was traffic up on the 101. So whether they were motivated by the fact that traffic was so slow and they just couldn't make their way and evade the police and get a good space cushion between themselves and the units behind them, it's unclear. All right, it looks like making a transition now. So it looks like this could be either, I can't tell if it's an off-ramp or if that is the transition to the southbound side of the 605 freeway. That would be the first freeway. So we'll get
605 South?
605 South would what that transition likely would be, heading into the Rosemead and the Whittier areas of Southern California.
So away from Baldwin Park?
Away from Baldwin Park, that's exactly right, because Baldwin Park was right there. The 10 at the 605. On the west side, you have El Monte. On the east side, you have Baldwin Park. So now heading south of where this pursuit originally was initiated. At least that's what we're being told in Baldwin Park by the Baldwin Park Police Department. This suspect essentially seen brandishing a weapon. What that weapon was it a handgun? Was it a knife? We've seen swords in local times, believe it or not. We don't know what that weapon was. But southbound on the 605 freeway, but now perhaps making an off-ramp turn here. So we'll see what this individual wants to do at this time. Slowing down, but that's a tight turn there. And that's a high-sided vehicle, so they don't handle those turns quite as well as do the smaller sedans or the sports cars. All right, we'll get a...
Valley Boulevard, Rick.
Valley Boulevard.
We're talking Whittier now?
Yeah, Valley Boulevard is just to the south of the 605 freeway. No, that was Arrow Highway there. That means they may have went northbound on the 605 freeway. So we'll get clarification. If it is Valley Boulevard, they went north. And Valley Boulevard's a major thoroughfare there through that portion of the San Gabriel Valley.
Are we talking Baldwin Park now, Ben?
Something out. Look at this, outside the window.
Whoa!
And I don't know if that's that's somebody else, a passenger. That has to be a passenger, because there's no way that...
Yeah.
Two people out that. Wow.
And like you said, Rick, are they there willingly or not?
That's right. And we just don't know that. If that individual was trying to say, hey, help me out here, or was mocking everything that was going on.
That looked like a joyride, and a not so pleasant welcome to the police.
Yeah, if we could get some intel about the ambulance right there. If we could get some intel where the main street that pursuit was on, it's, you know, with the darkness and not seeing the signs and having a tight shot like this, and not seeing those location indicators.
Now we're in the city of industry with this person or at times people through the window. The fact that we're on the side streets now obviously is in some ways more dangerous, but it also creates more options for law enforcement, including the possibility of a pit maneuver, which obviously would be dangerous with people hanging out the window like that.
Here he comes.
But they may try it. Usually it's under 35 miles an hour, and there's a place to put them. You don't see a lot of other cars. You don't see
But a big
some
vehicle
here.
like that, you
It's
think?
much more difficult. You're absolutely right. That's a very good point. It can be done, but it is more of a challenge with a heavier vehicle like that. But definitely you want the speeds to be lower than 40 miles per hour to conduct that pursuit intervention technique, the acronym for pit maneuver. You could see that individual outside the sunroof again and really sort of mocking, and it doesn't look like they're in distress. It looks like they're having a good time there. So there's at least one other individual, a passenger in the front, and the driver, obviously this suspect wanted for brandishing a weapon. And that,
What's going on in the car?
see, I'm not sure if that's a laser.
Are they trying to put lasers up to...
I mean, if that is a big time violation. People have shot lasers up at helicopters, law enforcement helicopters. The FAA comes in, and if they locate those people, they get into some big time trouble.
If we are so often for these pursuits joined by Dennis Zine, the former city councilman who also was a longtime LAPD officer who participated in these pursuits. And if he was joining us, I would bet a lot of money that he would say that these people are probably been to prison before. They see this as a joyride, and they're going to enjoy it for as long as they can, which is why they're playing with the police, giving them signs, and that they probably have a long rap sheet in their past. And we don't know that. I can tell you that's what Dennis
That's the In-N-Out in Baldwin Park. That's where they have the In-N-Out College. You've seen that off the 10 freeway.
Yeah, the origin of In-N-Out, right?
So that is in an area right where this pursuit may have initiated, very close to it. There's the one guy still out. I don't know if there's two people out the window now. It's out the sunroof. I can't tell. That looks like there's two individuals peeking outside that sunroof, waving, knowing that perhaps they're on TV.
Of course.
You have to assume that at least one of them, if not all of them, have cell phones and are in communication with friends, family as well. Family telling them to stop.
Didn't get on the freeway there.
Slowing down. That's a CHP unit, and he's got that big, strong bumper there that can make contact with the vehicle.
That could be so dangerous, though, with somebody hanging out the window like that. I just can't imagine that happening.
But think of all the people that they are endangering and have endangered, and there reaches a point.
They don't seem real focused on their safety right now, or the safety of anybody else.
You got to keep in mind, the streets are fairly wide open. Eventually, this car is going to run out of gas. They're in the Baldwin Park area where this started. We talked about suspects often going to an area that is familiar to them. This is going to come to an end at some point.
Yeah, I mean, how it ends, whether it ends with nobody getting hurt and the suspects calmly give up, or it could end tragically. We just don't know at this time.
Well, and for long...
There's the backseat, too.
Oh, backseat!
Yeah. So, and that could have been one of the same people popping up. They're popping up the front. How many people are in that vehicle? You could seat at least 6, perhaps 8 with the jump seats.
And that's all the more dangerous for law enforcement when this does come to an end, because we don't know if these people are armed, and do they try to take off in different directions? Do they give up peacefully? It's kind of a whole different ballgame when you have several people in one vehicle.
Yeah, and you wonder if that also may discourage the idea of doing a pit maneuver wherever you hit into the vehicle, there's probably going to be somebody sitting there.
That's right. We're now on Big Dalton Avenue, staying off the freeways on surface streets at this time. Still have the law enforcement helicopter up, illuminating this SUV with the night sun there, and just trying to bring this to a safe ending. Although we don't know. We didn't see the entire length of this pursuit. Was going to make a right turn, then said, nope, I'm going to stay on track here. Against traffic here, I believe there's one lane there that could very well be north-south, but you can see the opposing traffic Now making a left turn here, again, meandering through the surface streets of this area of the south end of the San Gabriel Valley.
Well, trying to think of the mindset of this driver. Again, this started in Baldwin Park. They were on several freeways, the 110, the 10 freeway, the 101, up in Hollywood, through downtown LA on surface streets, and they chose to come back to Baldwin Park. So are they just going to run this out through Baldwin Park? There are 2 freeways in the area, the 605, the 10, and this driver just circling right now, it seems, in parts of Baldwin Park.
So we believe, we just got a little bit of intel, this possibly is a 2006, so not a new, but not an old model, but an older model, Chevy Suburban here. And it has a 31-gallon tank. Our research department, our esteemed research department, got this information. It gets 15 miles per gallon. And if the tank was completely full, just filled up for $6-7 a gallon, he would be able to, or she would be able to travel 465 miles before having to refuel there. Just meandering through surface streets, could be in contact with someone that they know at this time.
Yeah.
If this pursuit did start in this general vicinity, trying to find an area to ditch for that footbail, as we call it, where the Suburban pulls over and everybody jumps out.
And you think about how challenging that potentially could be, because you got a lot of different people that could potentially head in a lot of different directions, and maybe 1 or 2 of them get away.
That's right. And if they do that in a neighborhood that you're close to, remember, just lock your doors and windows, shut down the lights. If you see or hear anything, call 911 immediately, because officers will be in the vicinity looking for those suspects. A narrow residential area there, barely making it through the parked cars on both sides. Making a left turn now here. And we're just trying to keep up with the exact location, because these are smaller surface streets. Slowing down here, he's got a red light, making a left turn on the red light. Another traffic violation there. There's an overpass, could be the 10 freeway again. The speeds have come down a bit, though. The driver appears to have backed off slightly when driving in these areas, and it's unclear if they do know this part of town. We just don't know at this time.
But still blowing through stop signs and red lights and not really obeying the law here. You know, it's a wide open street. We hear that the driver's still going like 50 miles per hour on some of these streets here.
Outside the sunroof again, doing some waves, doing his little hard 180 there. Yeah, U-turn there. And that SUV is doing what it can to evade police. That's a CHP cruiser there. And it's amazing so far, Alex and Christine, that we have not seen any collisions with the traffic on the surface streets. There's still pedestrians out there. People are out and about 24/7 here in SoCal.
I mean, to quote our pal Ed Lascos, what a punk. I mean, you've got these people that are putting everybody in the community in danger, causing all this money to be spent.
Pulling law enforcement away.
Pulling law enforcement away from other things so they can go on a joyride through a sunroof. And now crashing into somebody, some poor person's
so let's
vehicle.
See what, that was a parked, that was a parked car. Wow, look at that, guns drawn. They were out quick.
Yeah, they were.
And that car is smoking. And it looks like this has come to an end. Let's just hope that these suspects get out with their hands up. There's a lot of units there.
And not taking any chances there.
No,
wow, that was fast.
That was very cool. Look at these CHP officers coming from the other side. They're going to make sure nobody's inside.
Smoking, huh?
That appeared to have been just a parked vehicle. Pulling one suspect out. Let's count how many. Again, that can seat a lot of cars. It looks like the driver there is exposing their hands, meaning that they are essentially following this instructions by law enforcement. And I'm sure this is a multi-agency situation at this time.
Is that a second person in the back
One person out. Here comes the second person out.
If they can't get out the other side, probably.
Here comes a third behind. No, that was just a shadow, it appears. But the driver is still inside the vehicle.
You know, that was so risky for law enforcement, not knowing if these people are armed, and they just moved right in there to get them out of that car.
They did, and that driver's side front door is operable. It can be open because the contact wasn't. There you go. That officer said, "Hey, I'm going to open this up, and you're going to get out." There's the driver. That's the driver there who led that Suburban across the San Gabriel Valley into Hollywood, back through downtown LA. So that suspect now in custody. And now what they're going to have to do is make sure that the back end of this Suburban is clear.
But look, Rick, the way they have their guns trained there, is there another person on the other side, a passenger?
They have to
know.
Yeah,
but in the front seat.
It appeared that there was perhaps 3 or 4 individuals, including the driver, inside this Suburban. We believe a 2006 Suburban. And that Suburban, that suspect just made that turn too quickly. We now know it's a male, and lost control a bit, made that hard turn, and wasn't able to make it tight enough, and collided with that
Another
pickup truck.
Another person?
Yeah, well, they may not be able to get out on the other side because of the damage from the
It looks like they're pulling them out. Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, the way they had their guns trained still at that front seat made me think there was somebody else in that front seat there.
All right. Now you could see that you watch the mannerism of the officers. It's a little more relaxed now. So it appears they believe that everybody's out of there. I still haven't seen the 4 fingers, but they're checking the back there. Tinted windows, making it difficult, the visibility just a bit. And we'll see. And these suspects could have some injuries. So with that collision, so we'll see if they need fire to come out.
All right. Well, we are about to wrap up our coverage of this and wrap up our coverage for the night. We're sorry we didn't get other news on because of this.
Crash with that one injury there to the truck. All right, thanks.